What if everything you've heard about one of the most controversial popes in history was wrong? For decades, the image of Pope Pius XII has been frozen in black and white, a silent figure accused of turning his back while 6 million Jews perished. Hitler's Pope, they called him. A new Netflix film, Nuremberg, now portrays him as lenient toward Nazism, reluctant to support the trials that brought Nazi criminals to justice. The accusation stings that the leader of the Catholic Church stood by while the world burned. But Emilio Artiglieri, president of the Pope Pacelli Committee, has spent years studying the wartime pontiff born 150 years ago this March too, and he insists the real story is far more complex and far more heroic than the black legend suggests. From a scientific point of view, no serious historian could call him Hitler's Pope, Artiglieri says. The evidence is overwhelming. When Pope Francis opened the Vatican archives on Pius XII, new studies emerged. Professor Johann X documented how the Vatican rescued thousands of Jews. Professor Matteo Luigi Napolitano's research dismantles the very Netflix film now circulating. And Professor Pierluigi Guiducci's work on Pius XII and the Shoah asks a pointed question: what silences are they talking about? Here's what the filmmakers didn't include. At the request of Nuremberg prosecutors, the Vatican handed over secret material that proved crucial to the trials. Prosecutor Robert Jackson considered these documents extremely important. One Nazi defendant, Hans Frank, even wondered aloud whether the Vatican was acting as an assistant prosecutor. And then there are the Jews who lived through it. When Rome's chief rabbi, Israel Zoli, converted to Catholicism in 1945, he chose the Christian name Eugenio out of gratitude to Eugenio Pacelli for what he'd done with a spirit of unparalleled humanity and Christian charity. In March 1946, Italian Jewish communities approved a motion engraving their deepest sense of gratitude to Pius XII on a plaque. And in 1955, the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra performed Beethoven's Seventh Symphony inside the Vatican as a tribute for the Pope's help during the persecution. The note published in L'Osservatore Romano during the Nazi occupation of Rome said it plainly: the Pope's charity does not stop at any border of nationality, religion, or race. Of course, critics remain. They point to his diplomatic language, his failure to explicitly condemn Hitler by name. They argue that a more forceful stance could have saved more lives. And the Netflix portrayal reflects this view, that Pius was politically calculating when moral clarity was needed. But Artiglieri sees a different man, a diplomat who negotiated through both world wars, a jurist with deep respect for law, and a pope who, when faced with the SS occupying Rome, ordered churches and convents to open their doors, saving thousands of Jewish lives in silence because speaking might have closed those doors forever. His beatification remains stalled, awaiting proof of a miracle, but worldwide devotion to the Pastor Angelicus continues. Pius XII was also, Artiglieri notes, the primary source for the Second Vatican Council documents, cited 219 times. When Council Fathers spoke, they quoted him over 1,000 times. The man accused of being out of touch with the modern world shaped the council that would define the modern church. So who was Pius XII really? Perhaps not the villain of Netflix dramas, nor the saint of popular devotion, but a man who navigated the most horrific war in human history, who balanced diplomacy with rescue, and who, when the moment demanded, opened the gates of Rome to the hunted while the world looked away. And for Catholics watching the resurgence of anti-Semitism today, his example cuts both ways, a challenge to confront evil and a reminder that courage sometimes wears the face of silence.